The unbreakable core. The galactic Serene Council chamber fell silent as the holographic display activated, projecting the image of what appeared to be a suit of armor. Unlike the sleek, practical designs favored by modern species, this relic was organic in appearance, almost alive, with intricate patterns that seemed to ripple across its obsidian surface. Pulsing veins of electric blue traced pathways through the black material, giving it the unnerving impression of breathing. For 6,000 cycles, this artifact has remained dormant, announced High Counselor Vex Terry, her 6 tentacle-like appendages waving with emphasis. The Mirian's translucent skin flushed deep purple with concern. Recovered from the ruins of the primordial civilization, the unbreakable core has resisted every attempt at integration. 83 species have tried. All have failed, catastrophically. The assembled representatives shifted uncomfortably. Stories of the core's rejection were legendary. Bodies torn apart from within, minds shattered beyond repair, entire research teams found catatonic. Some whispered that the core was sentient and malevolent, a trap left by the primordials before their mysterious extinction. "Why bring this before the council now?" asked the Tellurian ambassador, his crystalline form refracting light nervously. "Because," Vex Terry replied, "we have encountered a new species, one with unique neural structures. Our preliminary analysis suggests compatibility." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Every species remembered their first contact with the Galactic Serene Council, the moment of pride when they joined the interstellar community. But humans had arrived differently. They had stumbled onto the galactic stage barely a century ago, still bearing the scars of their planetary conflicts, their technology cobbled together from salvage and innovation rather than refined over millennia. Humans. The Droll representative's voice was thick with skepticism. They're barely space-capable. Their emotional instability alone should disqualify them. Yet our simulations indicate a 78% probability of successful integration. Vex Terry's color shifted to determined azure. "We've invited a human representative to our research facility on Nexus Prime." Dr. Ilara Chen hadn't expected her first assignment with the Xenoarchaeology Division to involve a top-secret council facility. 3 months ago, she'd been cataloging artifacts from abandoned colony ships. Now she was being escorted through security checkpoints by solemn Mirian guards toward what they called the asset. "Your neural scans were interesting, Dr. Chen," explained Dr. Callmore, the facility director. The Sath neuroscientist's exoskeleton clicked nervously as they walked. "You possess unusual theta wave patterns we've not observed in other humans. Is that why I was selected?" Ilara asked, trying to hide her nervousness. Earth's relationship with the Council was still fragile, and she felt the weight of representing humanity. "Partially," Callmore admitted. "Also because of your recovery after the Martian mining accident. Your brain adapted to severe trauma in ways our medical experts found significant." Ilara's hand instinctively went to the back of her neck where the neural implant had been installed. The accident had claimed the lives of 17 miners. She'd been trapped under rubble for 9 days, her brain oxygen-starved. The doctors had been amazed she'd recovered at all, let alone returned to work within months. "Here we are." They stopped before a massive vault door. "The unbreakable core awaits." The chamber beyond was circular, with observation decks lining the perimeter. In the center, suspended in a containment field, hovered the armor. It was more unsettling in person than any hologram could capture, less like equipment, and more like a preserved organism. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Callmore's voice held reverence. "The primordials were the first spacefaring civilization we know of. They seeded technologies across the galaxy before vanishing 15,000 years ago, and no one knows what happened to them. There are theories. War. Ascension. Perhaps they simply left our dimension." The scientist gestured to the armor. "This is one of few intact primordial artifacts ever recovered. We believe it was a combat system, possibly for elite warriors." Ilara approached the containment field cautiously. You've tried to activate it. 83 species have attempted integration. Kalmore's tone darkened. The results were unpleasant. The armor seems to reject non-compatible physiology violently. And you want me to try? Ilara couldn't keep the incredulity from her voice. Merely to approach it initially. Our readings indicate human neural architecture might be compatible. Something about your particular brainwave pattern suggests a higher probability of successful contact. Ilara moved closer to the field. The armor hung suspended, its surface shifting subtly like oil on water. It looks almost fluid. Primordial technology often blurred the line between organic and mechanical. Our analysis suggests it consists of programmable matter containing billions of nanites in a semi-dormant state. As Ilara circled the containment field, she felt a strange sensation. A pressure building behind her eyes, a whisper she couldn't quite hear. The blue veins in the armor pulsed more rapidly. "It's responding to your presence," Kalmore noted, mandibles clicking with excitement. "Remarkable. I feel something," Ilara admitted, "like it's trying to communicate. Proceed with caution. If you experience any discomfort." Before he could finish, the armor's blue veins flared brilliantly. The containment field flickered and collapsed. Alarms blared throughout the facility. "Containment breach." A technician's voice echoed through the chamber. "Emergency protocols engage." "Step back, Dr. Chen." Kalmore moved to pull her away, but Ilara remained transfixed. The armor unfolded, sections separating and hovering in the air. It was restructuring itself, pieces flowing like liquid metal. Ilara stood motionless as the components surrounded her. "Dr. Chen, move." Someone shouted, but she couldn't. The pressure in her mind had become a presence, ancient, curious, evaluating. "Hello," it seemed to say, though not in words. The first piece touched her forearm. Scientists around the room braced for the inevitable rejection, the violent reaction they'd documented dozens of times. Instead, the material flowed over Ilara's skin like cool water, conforming perfectly. More pieces followed, enveloping her legs, torso, and arms. There was no pain, only a sensation of connection, of systems integrating. The final piece, the helmet, hovered before her face. "Ilara, don't," Kalmore pleaded. She met the scientist's gaze. "It's okay," she said, surprising herself with her certainty. "It wants me." The helmet flowed over her head, and the world transformed. Information flooded her consciousness. Languages, technologies, star charts from eras long past. She saw history unfold before her eyes, civilizations rise and fall. Most importantly, she understood the core's purpose. It was a key, a weapon, a warning. When she spoke again, her voice resonated with harmonic undertones, as if multiple voices spoke in perfect unison. "I understand now," she said, examining her transformed body. The armor had become a second skin, pulsing with energy. The primordials didn't disappear. They were hunted. Kalmore approached cautiously. Hunted? By whom? Ilara turned to face the observation windows. Beyond them, in the darkness of space, she could sense something stirring, ancient systems activating, dormant networks coming online. "The Void Sentinels," she whispered. "They're awakening." The core was left as both warning and weapon. She looked down at her armored hands. And it needed a mind it could bond with completely. "Why humans?" asked Kalmore. "Why you?" Ilara accessed the knowledge flowing through her mind. Human brains are uniquely malleable, adaptable, especially after trauma. The core needs a neural architecture fluid enough to accommodate its patterns without breaking. She smiled sadly. "My accident made me perfect." Across the room, monitoring stations flashed with warnings as deep space sensors detected anomalous energy signatures. Far beyond the edge of council space, ancient machines were stirring from millennia of hibernation. "We need to contact the council," Kalmore said urgently, "if what you're saying is true." "There's no time," Ilara interrupted. The armor's activation has triggered them. They're coming. She felt the core's knowledge expanding within her mind. Combat systems, weapons platforms, tactical networks that had once spanned galaxies. The armor had chosen her, and with that choice came responsibility. The Void Sentinels were created to harvest advanced civilizations, she explained, accessing ancient memories. The Primordials fought them to a stalemate, but at tremendous cost. They couldn't destroy them completely, so they scattered, leaving behind weapons like the core for species that might one day face the same threat. Around her, the facility's alarms continued to wail. Scientists rushed to terminals, monitoring the growing disturbances in deep space. Through the core's enhanced senses, Alara could perceive what they couldn't: the ripples of approaching dreadnoughts, machines the size of small moons awakening from their slumber. "How long do we have?" Kalmor asked. "Days, perhaps." Alara struggled to process the torrent of information flooding her consciousness. Memories not her own. Battles fought across star systems, civilizations burning. The desperate last stand of the Primordials threatened to overwhelm her. She staggered, and Kalmor moved to support her. "The integration is straining your system," the scientist observed. "We need to run diagnostics, understand what's happening to you." "No time," Alara gasped. "I need to master this, to understand what I've become." The blue energy coursing through the armor intensified, responding to her distress. Systems she couldn't yet comprehend activated, stabilizing her neural patterns, filtering the influx of information to manageable levels. As her mind cleared, a certainty formed within her. The core had waited millennia for a compatible host, for humanity to emerge and join the galactic community. Whether by cosmic coincidence or design, humans possessed the neural flexibility the armor required. And now, with the core awakened, the ancient enemy had stirred once more. "We need to prepare," she said, her voice steadier now. "The Council must be warned. Defenses must be mobilized." She looked at her transformed body, feeling the power humming beneath the surface. "And I need to learn what I can do." In the observation deck above, High Counselor Vex Terry watched with a mixture of awe and terror. The human, this Dr. Chen, had done what countless species could not. The legendary unbreakable core had accepted her, transformed her. But in doing so, it had awakened something terrible from the depths of history. The monitors tracking deep space anomalies showed more disturbances by the minute. Ancient machines stirring from hibernation, converging toward Council space. War was coming. A war that had been paused, not ended, 15,000 years ago. And their only hope might be this human woman and the ancient weapon she now embodied. The awakened conflict. 3 days after the integration, Alara stood in the command center of the Nexus Prime facility, watching the approaching threat materialize. The massive viewscreen displayed what the long-range sensors could detect. Vast structures moving through the void, mechanical titans awakening from millennia of dormancy. The Void Sentinels. They weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were living machines, amalgamations of harvested technology fused with an intelligence older than recorded history. Their hulls bristled with weapons evolved through countless conquered civilizations. "The outer colony of Tellerus Prime has gone silent," reported Admiral Jex, the Council's military liaison. The reptilian officer's scales had paled with stress. No distress signal, no evacuation. 8 million souls, just gone. Alara closed her eyes, letting the core's knowledge flow through her. "They're harvesting," she said quietly, "gathering materials, technology, biological samples, building their forces." The room fell silent. In the days since her integration with the core, Alara had struggled to maintain her humanity against the flood of ancient memories and knowledge. The armor had become a part of her, a second skin that rarely fully retracted. Even now, patches of the obsidian material remained visible along her arms and neck, pulsing with blue energy. "The Council has ordered full military mobilization," Vex Terry announced. "But our forces are peacekeeping fleets, not a war machine. We haven't faced an existential threat in 2,000 years. You're not equipped for this fight. Ilara agreed, accessing tactical assessments through the core. Your weapons technology is impressive, but evolved for precision and minimal collateral damage. The Sentinels have no such constraints. Then what do you suggest? Admiral Jex demanded. Surrender. Ilara approached the tactical display, waving her hand. The holographic representation shifted, displaying new configurations. The core contains weapons schematics, primordial defense systems that were effective against the Sentinels. With your fabrication technology, we could adapt some of these designs. The Council would never approve untested weapons, Vex Terry said. Then they'll die, Ilara replied bluntly. The core's influence was evident in her speech patterns now, direct, tactical, with little diplomatic cushioning. The Sentinels can't be reasoned with or appeased. They exist to consume advanced civilizations and incorporate their technologies. They're coming for your worlds, your people, your knowledge. A tremor ran through the facility as the planetary defense grid activated, responding to a proximity alert. They're here, Admiral Jex said unnecessarily. The view screen shifted to orbital view. A single Sentinel vessel had arrived. A nightmarish construction of jagged metal and pulsing energy conduits, smaller than the behemoths still approaching, but massive compared to the Council defense ships moving to intercept it. That's a scout, Ilara said, the core's knowledge surfacing. Testing your defenses, analyzing your technology. They watched as Council ships surrounded the intruder, warning signals transmitting on all frequencies. The Sentinel ignored them, extending proboscis-like appendages toward the planet's surface. They're scanning, a technician reported. Penetrating our shielding like it doesn't exist. Admiral Jex barked orders, and the defense fleet opened fire. Energy weapons struck the Sentinel, seemingly without effect. The massive machine didn't even acknowledge the attack. Your weapons aren't calibrated correctly, Ilara said, frustration mounting. The Sentinels adapt to energy signatures. You need to modulate frequencies, create interference patterns. Before anyone could respond, the Sentinel's form shifted. What had appeared to be ornamental structures reconfigured, revealing weapon ports. A pulse of sickly green energy erupted, tearing through 3 Council ships instantly. Evacuate the facility, Vex Terry ordered. Get everyone to the bunkers. Ilara watched the unfolding slaughter, feeling the core's battle systems activating in response to her rising emotions. The armor, dormant since the integration, began to flow across her skin, encasing her completely. I need to get up there, she said, her voice altered by the helmet that had formed around her head. That's suicide, Admiral Jex protested. One human against that thing. Ilara turned to face them, her form now completely transformed. The obsidian armor gleamed with pulsing blue energy, its shape both organic and mechanical, moving with fluid grace. I'm not just human anymore, she said. The core chose me for a reason. It's time to find out why. The shuttle bay was chaos as personnel evacuated. Ilara strode through the confusion, scientists and security officers parting before her transformed appearance. She approached a small transport vessel, placing her armored hand against the hull. Through the core's interface, she connected with the ship's systems, overriding security protocols. The vessel's engines activated, ramp extending. Dr. Chen, you can't do this. Collmore called, hurrying toward her. The core's integration is still unstable. Your neural patterns haven't fully adapted. There's no time for adaptation, Ilara replied. The Sentinels will destroy this world, then move on to the next. The core chose humanity for a reason. We need to trust that. At least take a proper warship, the scientist pleaded. Ilara shook her head. I don't need one. She boarded the transport alone, the craft's systems responding to her mental commands. As the bay doors opened, she felt the core's battle protocols activating, combat subroutines, tactical assessments, weapons systems she hadn't known existed within the armor. The transport accelerated out of the atmosphere, heading toward the battle. Through the view screen, Ilara watched Council ships falling back, shields failing against the Sentinels' weapons. The massive machine had grown, absorbing debris from destroyed vessels, incorporating new technologies into its structure. "Let's get its attention," she murmured. She directed the transport on a collision course. At the last moment, as automated warnings blared, she opened the airlock and launched herself into space. There should have been panic. The vacuum, the radiation, the cold. Instead, the armor sealed completely, life support systems activating. She felt the core adapting, propulsion units forming along her back and legs. With a thought, she accelerated toward the Sentinel. It sensed her approach. Energy weapons redirected, firing bursts of destructive force that would have vaporized any conventional target. Ilara moved with impossible speed, the armor anticipating attacks, adjusting her trajectory. When she reached the Sentinel's hull, she placed her palm against the metal. The armor's blue energy pulsed outward, interfacing with the ancient machine's systems. "Remember me," she projected through the connection, drawing on the core's ancient protocols. The response was immediate and violent. The Sentinel's entire structure convulsed, weapons retracting as defense protocols activated. It recognized the core, recognized it as an existential threat. Ilara smiled grimly behind her helmet. "That's right. You've seen this before." She pushed deeper into the connection, the core's assault algorithms flowing through her consciousness into the Sentinel's systems. It was like plunging her hands into toxic sludge, the machine's corruption threatening to overwhelm her. But the core protected her, filtering, adapting. The Sentinel's hull began to fracture, blue energy spreading through its systems like a virus. Through the connection, Ilara sensed its desperation. And something else. Fear. These machines could feel fear. "They're not just machines," she realized aloud. "They're alive." The connection abruptly terminated as the Sentinel initiated emergency protocols, sacrificing sections of its structure to cut off the infection. It began to retreat, accelerating away from the planet. Ilara let it go. The core's energy reserves were depleting rapidly, her own strength fading. She activated the propulsion system again, returning to what remained of the Council defense fleet. In the aftermath, Ilara stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Serene Council, her armor partially retracted to reveal her face. The chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from all Council worlds gathered to witness her testimony. "The Scout has rejoined the main Sentinel fleet," she reported. "They're regrouping, adapting their approach. We fought time, nothing more." "You interfaced with it," High Counselor Vex Terry said. "What did you learn?" "The Sentinels are a collective consciousness spread across countless machine bodies. They were created eons ago as tools by a species whose name is lost to time. But they evolved, broke their programming, and turned on their creators. Since then, they've consumed civilization after civilization, incorporating technologies, growing stronger." "And the Primordials fought them?" asked the Tellurian ambassador. "To a standstill," Ilara confirmed. "The Primordials created weapons like the core, adaptive systems that could counter the Sentinel's evolution. But the war drained them. In the end, they scattered across the galaxy, hiding their most powerful technologies where the Sentinels couldn't find them." "Why did the core accept you?" Vex Terry asked the question everyone wanted answered. Why humans? Ilara accessed the knowledge flowing through her consciousness. The core needed specific neural architecture, a mind adaptable enough to integrate with its systems without breaking, but structured enough to maintain individuality against its influence. Human brains are uniquely plastic, especially after trauma. She gestured to the assembled representatives. No offense intended, but your species' neural patterns are too specialized, too optimized for your evolutionary niches. Humans are generalists, adaptable, our greatest strength and weakness. The council chamber buzzed with discussion. Finally, Admiral Jex spoke up. "Can you stop them?" "With the core?" "Not alone," Ilara admitted. But the core isn't unique. There are others: weapons, shields, systems created by the primordials and hidden throughout the galaxy. Together, they could form a defense network. How do we find these weapons? Vex Terry asked. The core contains star charts, coordinates. Ilara projected a holographic map of the galaxy, specific points illuminating. But there's more. The integration revealed something unexpected. The primordials didn't just leave their technology behind. They left their legacy, genetic markers hidden within compatible species, markers that would activate when needed. She looked around the chamber. Humanity carries those markers. We're not just compatible with primordial technology by coincidence. We were engineered to be their successors, dormant until the Sentinels returned. Silence fell over the assembly as the implications sank in. Humans, the newcomers, the upstarts, carried the legacy of the galaxy's first civilization. Other humans could bond with similar artifacts. Ilara continued. Together, we might stand a chance. The debate raged for hours. Some council members argued for immediate evacuation of border worlds. Others proposed diplomatic overtures to the Sentinels. A few even suggested surrendering primordial technology in hopes of appeasing the ancient threat. Through it all, Ilara stood silent, the core's knowledge weighing heavily. She knew what was coming. The Sentinels wouldn't negotiate or accept surrender. They would consume everything in their path. Finally, as the council remained deadlocked, she stepped forward. "While you debate, worlds burn," she said, her voice cutting through the chamber. "I'm going to find the other artifacts. I'll need a ship, supplies, and any humans willing to volunteer." "The council hasn't authorized," began one representative. "I'm not asking permission," Ilara interrupted. "The core chose humanity for this fight. Whether you help us or not, we'll stand against the Sentinels." Admiral Jex stepped forward. "My ship and crew are at your disposal, Dr. Chen." Vex Terry's tentacles rippled with concern. "This course risks everything. If the Sentinels obtain the core—" "They won't," Ilara promised, the armor flowing over her face once more, her eyes glowing with blue energy. "The primordials fought them to save the galaxy. Now it's humanity's turn." 1 month later, Ilara stood on the bridge of the Defiance, a council warship modified with primordial technology. Around her, a crew of both humans and council species worked in coordinated efficiency. On the main view screen, a massive Sentinel fleet approached, dozens of the nightmarish machines converging on their position. But they weren't defenseless. 5 other humans stood with her, each bonded with primordial artifacts recovered from hidden vaults across the galaxy. Dr. Marcus Webb wore the chrono gauntlets, capable of manipulating localized time fields. Captain Sonia Reeves controlled the Shield of Axiom, a defensive system that could protect entire planets. 3 others wielded equally powerful artifacts: the Star Forge, the Void Lance, the Harmony Nexus. Together, they formed the vanguard of what was being called the Primordial Initiative, humanity embracing its unexpected legacy. "They're in range," reported Captain Reeves, her body partially encased in gleaming silver armor. Ilara nodded, feeling the core's systems fully integrated with her own consciousness now. What had once been overwhelming was now familiar, a symbiosis rather than an invasion. "Open a channel to the fleet," she ordered. When the connection was established, she addressed not just their ships but all council worlds. For thousands of years, the galaxy lived in peace, unaware of the threats sleeping in the void. The primordials fought to give us that peace, sacrificing their civilization. They left behind not just weapons, but hope, the hope that when the Sentinels returned, someone would stand against them. She looked at her fellow bonded humans, then at the mixed crew around her. "Today, we honor that legacy. Today, we stand together, not just humanity, but all council species. The Sentinels consume civilizations. We will show them that this civilization bites back." The Sentinel fleet accelerated, weapon systems activating. Behind the Defiance, hundreds of council ships moved into formation, their systems enhanced with adapted primordial technology. Ilara felt the core's power surging through her, stronger than ever. The blue energy coursed along her armor, connecting with the ship's systems. Around her, the other artifact bearers activated their powers, creating a synchronized network of ancient technologies brought back to life. As the two fleets closed to engagement range, she gave the order that would begin a new chapter in galactic history. All ships, advance. Show them what humanity and its allies can do. The core pulsed with approval as the battle began. The war that had paused 15,000 years ago resumed, but this time, the Primordials' chosen successors would fight alongside the galaxy they had sworn to protect. And for the first time since their creation, the Sentinels faced an enemy who could match their evolution, human adaptability fused with primordial technology. The awakened conflict had begun.